Hello there, my friends. Well, today we have another very special episode because, honestly, every episode is special because it's unique, it's one of a kind, it's art, and I'm walking the dog right now. I'm outside, of course, walking because that's who Olivia is, always moving, bursting at the seams, because as I've talked about before on this podcast, the soul is already everywhere. The soul is already everything. The soul is one with the universe. Wow, we just got real deep real fast. But yeah, that's why I'm walking. And I am super excited to get into this episode for you to listen. So I don't want to ramble on for too long because we know that I can do that very well. That's why I'm a writer. But before we dive straight into this episode, I do want to take a quick moment to tell you about 51 Days to Freedom. And if you listen to the previous episode of the podcast, the Midnight Metaphor one, and if you are subscribed to my email newsletter, which if you're not, you can do that at livelabelfree.com/join to receive free weekly valuable content and insights and behind the scenes of everything that is happening in my brain and soul and everything that's going on in this little body costume. Why was I saying this? Oh yeah, because I want to invite you to join 51 Days to Freedom, which does close this week if you are listening to the episode the day or within the first few days that it airs. 51 Days to Freedom is basically a brand new program that I have created in which we will be doing my book, How to Get Out of Quasi-Recovery, together. And to be honest, my friend, I kept having on my, to-do list, I hate that word, but, in my notebook, in my, next steps list, I kept writing down, prepare Kathi pod and script the ad for 51 Days to Freedom, and I kept writing it down over and over again, kept transferring it to the new day, because I'm sure we all know how that goes, and I kept not doing it, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna walk with the dog and record it and not even think about it. I'm literally not even gonna think about it. I'm just gonna speak from the heart, speak from the soul, because that's literally what Kathi and I also talk about today more, is stop being so fucking predictable. Everything is an illusion anyways. Everything's play pretend. I don't know why I can't say that from the first get-go. It's so hilarious. In the episode I say 3 times play pretend. So yeah, be sure to listen for that. We talk about how reality is a collective dream. We talk about the collective unconscious. And for any of my Carl Jung fans, you're going to recognize that. What else do we talk about? We talk about being repulsed by our previous identities. We talk about feeling like those identities are expired. And that's why I named this episode Has Your Eating Disorder Expired? Because an eating disorder is not in alignment with your intuition. And yeah, so that's just expired. You're going to hear about it all in the episode, because I'm trying to recall everything we talked about, and I can't because it's so much, and the energy that was present throughout the conversation also just goes far beyond the words themselves, because I'm pretty sure that's what we also talk about, is that words are not the language of the soul. Or maybe I wrote about that somewhere, I don't remember, but you're just gonna listen to and hear whatever you hear. But okay, back to 51 Days to Freedom. Again, this is what my brain does. It goes on tangents, even when I'm quote-unquote supposed to be talking about something that I actually want to talk about. So, How to Get Out of Quasi-Recovery, my book that came out earlier this year. I cannot believe it's already December. Oh, there we go, another tangent. And the accompanying discovery workbook, How to Get Out of Quasi-Recovery has 51 chapters. And I love writing, and hopefully if you've read the book and you've engaged with the workbook, you have gotten so many insights from that book, and have so much clarity and just permission to follow your intuition. Oh my god, I love when things rhyme. To break free from quasi-recovery, which honestly isn't even about breaking free from recovery. It's about discovering who you truly are, right? It's about discovering your authentic self and learning to trust your intuition. And where was I going with this? Yeah, that is what quasi-recovery, that's what my book, How to Get Out of Quasi-Recovery, is about. And I obviously love to write, because it allows me to go deep. However, writing in solitude and then publishing a book and then having you read, probably in solitude, is not the same as live connection with others who genuinely understand the neurodivergent experience of eating adaptations, which is, and I really, have learned this from my work as a one-on-one coach, but especially now with the Live Label Free membership and the Autistically ED Free Academy, there is absolute magic that happens when multiple souls come together and coalesce and share their experiences. Truly magic is the only word, which again is pretty accurate here, because Kathi, her brand name, I don't even want to call it that, because we talk about how we don't like the word brand even, but she calls herself Magic Kathi. So she has been in the academy, she has read How to Get Out of Quasi-Recovery. So going back to inviting you into the program, telling you about the program. So the book has 51 chapters, and I thought, okay, the book is pretty insightful, but I want to take this a step further. I want to help you to turn the insights. Oh no, someone is doing construction. We need to walk away real fast. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I wanted to help you turn the insights from the book into action in a group setting. So that's really what 51 Days to Freedom is all about. It's a 51-day program, which is 7 weeks plus 2 days. So what's included is 7 live weekly group coaching calls, and they are on Saturday at 3 p.m. UK time, so 4 p.m. Central European time, which is my time here in the Netherlands, or 10 a.m. Eastern time. And those calls are from January 10 until the end of February. I don't know the exact dates out of my head right now, but every week on Saturday for 7 weeks, and then obviously because there's 2 days, you get a surprise at the end too. And I know we don't like surprises, but it's going to be a surprise. And you also get access to a private WhatsApp group. And obviously, you get to read the books if you don't have them already. But I'm assuming that many of you have already read them, and that's why you would want to sign up for 51 Days to Freedom. And the cost of the program is 151 Great British Pounds. So super affordable, probably the most affordable program I have ever created, because I wanted to make it accessible, because obviously everything in the world has gotten so expensive. That's part of why I had to move back in with my mom, because it's hard to find housing and make a living. And even that phrase, make a living, isn't it terrible that phrase is associated with money? So anyways, the cost of the program is 151 Great British Pounds. Yes, obviously 151, because 51 Days to Freedom and 51 would just be too low cost, because it is 7 weeks of live access to me and a private WhatsApp group, obviously. And what else did I want to say about this? Oh my god, I hope you guys can't hear the screaming kids. You probably can, but this is reality, you guys. This is reality. So, 51 Days to Freedom, the enrollment date, it closes December 21st, 2025. So, I hope you will join us. You can learn all about the program and join today at livelabelfree.com/freedom. I really hope to see you inside. And now, onto the episode with Kathi.
Welcome to the Live Label Free podcast. I'm your host, Olivia Sarah, an autistic eating disorder recovery coach that's here to help you turn your mess into your message. You can find my books, blogs, courses, coaching, and much more at livelabelfree.com. So that's LIV labelfree.com. And now let's dive into today's episode.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I am here with Kathi. Kathi, how about you just introduce yourself immediately?
I love it. Perfect. Thank you for the invitation and for, yeah, our start together to basically talk about whatever we're going to talk about. But do you want me to introduce myself first? So basically, I work with astrology, human design, and the gene keys for a while. So I've been very in this cosmic world and have had and still have a lot of struggles with being a human in this world, being a human or a soul in this human body, which is how we connected. I have been in your program, and it's been so, so beautiful to have community, like-minded people, and to just not be so alone inside of our head all the time, which is also the reason why we wanted to connect and collaborate and speak about all the things that are in our hearts and our minds that are present in the moment and not just like curated and, on a specific subject or whatever. We'll probably talk about many things that in my understanding, I also have a podcast. And whenever I shared updates about what's going on in my world, I was so amazed to see that everyone is going through the same things. That's also why I love to work and incorporate astrology and the energies that are going on, because it seems like we are all going through the same things, but no one is talking about the elephant in the room. And especially with you, Liv, and me having similar life changes that are
Yeah.
overwhelming. That also has been, interesting and synchronistic. So I'm excited to share and to talk and to see how everyone else in the world is going through probably the same things.
Yes, yes, that what you just said about like how we're all feeling this energy, but we all feel like we're feeling the energy alone. That's definitely why I'm so excited to speak together and literally coalesce together so that other souls can coalesce. Because even just the other day, one of my clients sent me a WhatsApp saying one of the things I struggle with is constantly feeling like this world is made up, and I remember sending, like, it was totally not the intention, but I sent her back like an 8-minute voice memo about how everything is an illusion and how you are totally not the only one feeling that. I mean, the amount of times where I think like, is reality just like a collective dream?
Oh,
and
yes,
and
it
most
is.
people just are not thinking those things. And I did send out an email newsletter a few weeks ago, an email or a newsletter to a few weeks ago, titled like a new podcast era, in which I shared, I am very sick of the facade, so to speak. I'm so sick of being this like branded, person who talks about autism and eating disorders and the scripted episodes and having interviews and having like just literally feeling like I have to fit in this mold
You
within
have to
my own
play a
brand.
character, kind of,
Yeah. And I think recently and energetically, like I have so been tapping into this like innate, like I am a being, I am an essence, I am an energy that is infinite and vast, and I don't want to feel contained anymore.
Yeah.
And I can't uncontain myself. I can't unleash myself by myself. Like, you need other energies to coalesce with to give you new insights and have really rich conversations. So yeah, anyways, I am so
Yeah.
excited to connect and really to talk about live label free and like, what does
I
it
mean,
mean?
it's
Yeah.
what we talked about last time when I did a reading for you, because it's where I have found like that's been the entire year for me, this like aversion and repel, like such a repelling energy of continuing with my business the way I've done, just because I felt like one day it was so weird. I was like, one day I woke up and I was like, what are you doing? You're putting yourself in a box when you don't even want to be in a box. And now you sit in this box and everyone just knows you as this person that you don't want to be limited to, because there's so
Totally.
much more to you. But because you have been in this box and it's been successful and, making a livelihood for yourself and everything, you feel like you don't have a choice. You just have to be that person, and you can't really explore what else would be to you, but you also feel like you've outgrown it, and so it was this constant, like, okay, I'm pushing through because I have to do it. Almost, yeah, like going to a job. But then I'm like, well, that's not the point. And I'm literally burning out from not even doing much with it, but it's just because it's not. I think the burnout more so came from, well, your energy wants to be channeled into something different.
Mm-hmm.
And you are fighting so much, like that's where the burnout comes from, not from like doing things actively in my business, but from fighting the other energy that wants to come through,
Yes.
like literally suppressing all of the creative other impulses that you have, because the mind is like, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't bring money, you don't have energy for that, you should rather have, and like, and then on top of that, being a projector of like, not having a lot of energy anyways. But I mean, even for you being a manifesting generator, you have a lot of energy, but if you burn out, that's like a big sign. It's a big sign,
Yeah, it
because that
is.
usually doesn't happen. You should have energy like in abundance.
Yes.
So if your system is telling you, well, no, we don't have energy for that, that's a clear indicator that you definitely suppress a lot of the energy in a box that you probably created yourself, And then again, in your case, your business is, it's all about live label free. So why do we have a label here? You
Right.
know?
Right. And as you were explaining, this being repulsed by your business and everything you were saying, I was like, just fill in eating disorder. And
Yeah.
it's the same story. And it's so, again, I am just shocked, but at the same time, like not shocked at all by how aligned everything you're saying is, like recent things I have been writing about. And I was writing a chapter on intuition, because so often, autistic people, neurodivergent people are like, again, that's a label, but like the boundless soul, so to speak, the aliens among us, we don't know how to trust,
Mm.
like how much to eat, how much to move, and that's where the eating disorder comes in with all of its rules. And the whole point of that chapter was like, we have such a strong intuition. We are so fucking tapped in. And I think, and then I described like what does intuition feel like? For me, it feels like magnetic, pull, excitement. Whereas misalignment, I write, if you can define it by one word, and that is repulsion. Like it repels you. And that's, I think, also for me, and the eating disorder recovery and all that, like when I said I can't do this anymore and I decided to recover, discover a life beyond the eating disorder, it was because I felt repulsed by continuing with the eating disorder. And I think right now in my business and the way I've been doing things too, like I'm repulsed by continuing or doing what I was doing like a few years ago, even though sure that was working out fine. Well, our intuition also, what feels aligned for us at one moment changes over time. And that's very scary because, oh no, what's going to come into place? But
Yeah.
that all comes back to, what you talk about with the human designs and the astrology is like, you have to trust this force larger than you. You have to trust the universe for the divine plans.
Where does it move you? When you asked me about intuition, I mean, I have a tattoo on my neck. So yes, in my way, I'm a self-projected projector. I have to speak in order to come to that clarity for the intuition, which in human design, there's one prime rule. If you want to know anything about making decisions, there's no authority in human design that is in the head,
Yes.
which is very significant and telling, because most humans living on this planet make decisions on in the head. It's
Yeah.
like, and intuition is, you if you want to say it in divine terms, it's this clear knowing in the heart where there
Yep.
is just no doubt. It's pure love. It's pure a green light in your heart. And it usually, again, as falling in love, it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it can't, so many times your intuition, first of all, there's no reason you would need to explain it, but we live in a, world where we need to rationalize, make sense of our decisions, or why we feel, you know, an inclination to do something, to explore something, to do. It's like, okay, our intuition needs to make sense. I need to make a reason or, find justification or whatever, have an agenda behind it. But as soon as there is an agenda, it's not intuition anymore. It's how do you say that? It's a manipulative act in a way,
Yes.
and it's not coming from this joyful, we talked about it earlier, this childlike innocence of, I just want to explore this direction because it sounds exciting or it feels exciting in my heart. And I don't even know where it leads me, but it just feels like the right thing to do.
Right. And I think that is, why people who are stuck in quasi recovery are stuck there, because there is that inner child that's like, let's explore, let's discover like what my life could be. And then the mind comes in, is like, oh no, like you can't predict what's going to happen. There's no proof, there's no guarantee. But again, one of my favorite quotes is, the mind thinks, but the heart knows. And any decision that is made with the mind is one that's inevitably going to be based on conditioning, what we've been conditioned, what we are quote unquote supposed to do. But like, we possess all the answers already in our intuition. And I think that's, for me, why more and more I have been like off social media, and off of even like less podcasting even for myself, and more writing, more connection, more like depth, because I'm like entering this era of where my soul is like, we want what we came on this planet to do. We don't want more of the shallow every day, because what's the point of any of it if we're just going to be shallow?
Yeah, and it's at the end of the day, intuition is so intimate and unique to each and every single one of us, even from the energetic perspective. We all have our own, I mean, source split itself in many different fractals, which we are, uh, for a unique experience, which means that for every single one, the reason of being here and experiencing the world through these unique eyes and having those unique experiences is it's just, you cannot replicate that, which also
Yep.
means that as soon as we compare too much, or we are too much in social media, we're too much in, this is what's needed, we are out of sync basically. And that's where the second guessing starts. So the more you are in a way in your own bubble and you zone out and you go into your own depth, it's so clear in which direction you are being moved by those higher forces, if you want to say it. But
Totally.
the minute, and I mean, that's probably also where the neurodivergent aspect comes into, because we are so sensitive to external stimuli. And probably when we were really young, we were not, because we were so tapped in. But then it's almost like I saw a post yesterday about the spiritual awakening and trauma response. It's like we are being shocked by all the things that we were not allowed to express or do or be, because everyone was like, you're a weirdo, kind of. The
Yep.
reaction from the world by us being us
Yep.
traumatized us. And then again, the whole controlling thing, for example, comes into play, or wanting things to be perfect, and needing to have like rigidity and structure and routine. We are basically suppressing our own flow, because by nature, I believe that neurodivergent people are the people that would be the most in flow if they would allow themselves to be their true selves. But that seems so scary, right?
Yes.
And like there's nothing to hold on to, no ground. But I believe that we actually, it's kind of like funny, but those people that have the most rigidity and like need for
Yeah.
those structure, we are actually the opposite.
Yes, yes. And this is something that I have been writing about so much, is this whole idea that autistic people are rigid and inflexible, blah, blah, blah. No, actually, we are the most flexible, most all-encompassing beings to
We just
exist.
don't feel safe in it,
We
you
could
know?
we
Yeah.
consider every single option because we see every single detail, but
Yeah.
obviously that is physically in this physical, in like the alien universal plane, like we can consider every option, you know, but in this finite existence of being channeled as a human, it is physically impossible to consider every option. So the protective mechanism, the adaptation here is, okay, I'm just always going to pick the same option because then I don't have to deal with the possibility of choosing the wrong option, right? And that's again where the eating disorder comes in. And I think another misconception about neurodivergent, now I'm just gonna like put that in air quotes, neurodivergent people is like we think deeply. No, you tapped into it so well. You said we are so tapped into everything that we actually feel everything deeply. And the thinking is only a way sort of to contain that. And also you use the term make sense a few minutes ago, and I love that you use that term because my whole eating disorder can basically be summarized with the phrase everything needs to make sense. Food needs to make sense. I mean, ask my mom or
All
my,
of these
my dad,
things,
you know?
it's not something that we as a child have been like two things that you said. It's you don't come to the world and know that you need to make sense of things, of your
Yes.
impulses, of what you eat, or it's all programming, or it's all
Mm-hmm.
like you've learned, oh my gosh, I need to make sense of why I'm doing this. I can't just follow my instincts. Oh my gosh, I need to, make sense of why I'm eating this, for example, because there has to be a reason to it, or I need to justify my desires or cravings.
Yes.
It doesn't even have to be food. It's like I want this in life. I need to justify, like I need to make sense of it because otherwise it won't be accepted or, it will be judged maybe or whatever consequences are happening. But that's all coming from the external world.
I'm writing this down. I'm writing justify slash there needs to be a reason
Yeah.
because this is again so timely with like what I'm calling my existential transformation, but I'm just gonna remove the word existential and call it transformations, whatever. Because even as a little kid, I remember asking my quote unquote friend when we were so young, and it was, I asked her, do you also have where you can only ever do anything when you convince yourself in your head that you have to do it? And she looked at me like she was so confused. And even now with like the PDA, like non-conformity perspective, I'm like so confused why I even had that like mechanism or strategy. But like anything that I had to do, anything that I wanted to do, I said you can only do it if you have to do it. Like, does this even make sense? And because wanting it was not
Yeah,
enough of a
it's
reason.
just like there has to be a valid quote unquote, right,
Yes.
reason for like spend or investing our time in something. I mean, it's even as a child, I remember where it's like, okay, where does it lead us kind of
Mm-hmm.
situation, when you just want to play and do watercolor or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it needs to, and I mean, I've treated myself like that for so long. Like I'm only reading this book if I get like this next insight or it helps me with my business or whatever, not for the pleasure of like entertainment,
Right. Right.
and
And
even that it's like, okay, entertainment, but then for what? Like is there it does it help bring us? It's almost like the time that we have here, it needs to be productive, or it needs
needs to
to
be,
lead
yep.
something that gives us, I guess, return of invest, or however you want to say that, but it's like so fucked up.
It is so fucked up, and it's reminding me of a podcast episode I recorded, I think last year. Like, well, not I know it was this year, but like this year is almost last year. Um, about unnecessary calories, and I basically like
Mm.
that whole episode turned into like an existential like this isn't about unnecessary calories, this isn't about wasting calories, this is about like the fear of wasting your existence. And like because just copy paste that to waste of time, like it needs to, everything needs to be fully optimized and strategized. And that's why, even when I would read fiction, it would be with the root of like, I'm going to read this fiction so I can recharge, so I can be more productive. And it was like,
Or even like,
that defeats
so
the
I know how
purpose.
other people's writing style is for my own writing. It can be
Yes.
anything.
And it's so funny you just said that about the writing style too, because I now, not specifically the writing, but the social media, more and more, every time I go on there, I feel like a failure. I feel like, look at all these things they're doing in their life, and I can't keep up. And it's just, yeah, I mean, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but anything that makes us feel like that, why, why the fuck do we keep doing it? It's all conditioning.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also partially like, I guess the big underlying fear problem, however you want to say that, is we are so terrified of being,
Mm-hmm.
being without an agenda, without a plan, without a structure, just like literally waking up, not knowing. I mean, that's, where the spiritual and Buddhist teachings and all come into place. Like there's, you know, the concept of not self and non-duality and everything. It's like,
Yeah.
even to the label, I mean, we all have a label at the end that we cannot really shed. We can only shed it inside, but knowing that we are not that label, which is our name. Like,
Yeah.
the passport and the role that we play, being this human character, like that's where I was born and all of these things. Because even that we are not, it's all just a construct of, yeah, I mean, circumstances and, all of these kinds of things. And who would you be if all of that would be gone? You're just like the present moment
Mm-hmm.
and you just explore what's presenting itself. Everyone is
Yes.
terrified of that. That's why we have the whole thing with like having a plan and having a structure, having a routine, knowing ourselves to be wearing specific things, doing specific things. It's all giving us still a framework because I mean, first of all, it's pretty difficult to do this in our world, to just like wake up and be like, okay, I don't know
Yeah.
who I am. I don't know what this day will bring. I'm just gonna see. And then
Yeah.
every day could look completely different from the next one. I have that so
Right.
many times, and I do walking meditations every day. And it's interesting when I do them. And sometimes I'm like, it's all about visualization as well. And then I'm like, I could also see the world through the eyes of that person right there
Yeah.
you know
Yep.
like I kind of like visualize and imagine when I wake up. So in the meditation you close your eyes, and when you open them again, I could see them through Olivia's eyes right now, because it's the same consciousness. It's just a different
Yes.
perspective, so I could just tune into a different consciousness, like how. And some people do these exercises, if you could spend one day with a person that you admire, or like
Mm-hmm.
inside of the person you admire or whatever inspires you, just imagine and
Yeah.
just, play pretend. Like children do that so fucking well. They are they
Yeah.
they are modeling it to us. Like they just play pretend
Right.
because no one said that you are this fixed thing,
Right.
that keeps you stuck at the same time.
And in the end, like even what we call reality, it's all fucking play pretend in the end.
It is.
I mean, like,
And I mean, you have to laugh at yourself. Like one of my favorite quotes is, and it's not even a quote in that way. It's something that shakes me out of my own fucking sleepy
mm-hmm.
state sometimes. I'm like, Kathy, don't be so predictable. I'm bored. Like literally, when the higher
Yeah.
forces are entering me again, it's like, gosh, first of all, don't take everything so serious. It's not that deep. Have more fun and don't be so predictable. Like sometimes when I wake up in the morning and I do my same fucking things, I'm like, gosh, what are you doing? You're so boring. if that would be a movie and someone would watch,
They
it's
would
like, okay,
stop.
now she's doing that again. Now she's doing that again. Oh, that time of the month, and I used to laugh at my grandma always doing the same fucking things. I'm like, yeah, I'm not better. Now she's putting that on again. Of course, she's doing her coffee with the. It's so boring.
It's, I mean, so many thoughts. I literally have like 4 bullet points that I just
I
wrote
love it.
down. And the first thing is again the don't take everything so seriously. Yesterday morning, I woke up and because like I just came out of a dream, and the moment I wake up, it's always I'm so fucking stressed immediately because I'm like, I have this writing to do and I have this podcast and I have this client and it's like all the stuff that I chose because I love it, but it like is so stressing me out. And then in that like there was this weird transition between dream and reality that I go, Livia, like what if you were just not so stressed? Like it was, it was so simple, but it was like, what if you just chose not to be stressed? And all of a sudden I was like, wait, I can write and I can do this podcast and I can
What
talk to this
about
person
being
today.
excited and not anxious?
Yeah,
It's the same energy. It's just like
right.
all of these amazing, like a child, all of these amazing things I want to do today.
Right. And that goes back to the play pretend and how everything is why can I play pretend?
Yeah.
And even the whole thing that I talk about in how to get out of quasi recovery about the eating disorder itself, but also everything being a story, which is literally
Yeah.
being play pretend, is if we're gonna be playing pretend, if we're gonna be like living a story anyways, we might as well play pretend in a way that actually serves us. Um,
Exactly. I literally wrote about that yesterday in my journal. I'm like, who are you actually even kidding? You're
yeah,
not afraid of food.
yeah,
Like you love food.
yeah,
Like you love eating.
yeah.
Like why are you playing this story of, oh my gosh, it's so horrible and I have to eat this meal and all of like, yeah, you can play that story or you can be like, no, actually, when I really do it and I'm honest with myself, it's actually something that I enjoy.
Right. And even with that too, like the whole food, sometimes I think about like why am I making such a fucking big deal out of the fact that my
Even
body
though,
has needs? Because
yeah, but it's
that
also like I mean, dream, like talking about the dream analogy, I had this like whole thing, but like, what if I really believe that this is all like an illusion and everything, then
oh yeah.
even the food piece is kind of like, I could see it as, when you eat something in your dreams. It's not a big deal. Like, it's really not a big
Oh,
deal.
well, I've had times where I had extreme hunger in the dream. That was a fucking big deal.
Oh,
I would wake up with heart palpitations, be like, did I really do that? Thank God I didn't, And then when you have actual extreme hunger, you like, it's actually becoming real. But in the dream, it was almost like a foreshadowing of it happening.
you
Yeah.
created, I mean, we can do a separate episode about dreams and what they really are. But yeah, sometimes because we actually like reality creation happens in the dream state. That's
Yes.
also why meditation, hypnosis, all these things work. So yeah, foreshadowing, you can say. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about don't be so predictable, I started reading a book the other day called Writing into the Dark, and it's all about how the best way to write is to write without an outline because that's how I write. I don't like I've never been someone to outline the whole book and then write it because by the time I've outlined it and I know what's going to happen, why would I write it if I know
Yeah.
what's going to happen? And and it's so funny because the writer, the chapter that I was reading about this morning, he said, if you as a writer know what's going to happen, so does the reader, and they will stop reading because people read to be surprised. Literally,
Yeah.
the distinction between art and anything that's not art is surprise. Is and that's why AI can never create art because there's no surprise to it. There's nothing new or original. And if we as humans can no longer be surprised, we stop. That's why, like with what you said with the movie, if you know what's gonna happen, you stop watching the fucking movie. Because why would you keep watching if you already know what's gonna happen? You're gonna look for
Yeah.
something that does have the element of
We need the
surprise.
plot twist.
And that again, it's the whole fucking eating disorder recovery thing, and like this is A to Z what recovery looks like. These are the steps, these are the signs that you're, getting recovered. Why would we live that story if A to Z were just supposed to follow the fucking roadmap? That's why I love the word discovery so much, because you have no idea what's going to happen, but that's exactly what is the point.
Yeah, I mean, you can, that analogy is for anything in life. I mean, even, you mentioned quasi recovery, but it's anyone who is also in this limbo state of they fucking know they need to make a decision, but everyone is just keep being in their uncomfortable, not comfort zone
Yeah.
out of like this weird mind trip that it is more comfortable, but then they are suffering even more, and it's getting, it's in recovery, it's in like life situations, and then just things happen and it's getting more and more uncomfortable until the frog finally gets out of the fucking water, but it's never happening because for some reason, we are made, I want to say, made to be so afraid of exploring and
Mm-hmm.
exploring without knowing what's next. And that just doesn't work. And again, you can apply it probably more so because all of life is a creative process to the creative process. Any art that you create, as soon as, and that's also what, there's like this, I have this dance with being creative also from like school, where I never started to paint if I didn't know what I would paint. And that's not how it works, And
Yeah.
then I would just limit myself and not start in the first place because I didn't know the outcome or how I want the picture to look. Instead of allowing myself to just be with whatever wants to come through,
Yeah.
Even with my own books, I have written so many and try to publish them with publishers, but when they want my proposal with an
No,
outline and like the sample, I'm
no.
like, gosh,
I'm
what
like,
do I know? I know a brief concept, but I just, and even with the whole editing process, I'm like so repelled by, because I mean, the amount of people that wanted to frame it in a different way. I'm like, it's not even the words, it's the energy behind the words. And if you don't
yeah.
feel them and I have to, change it even with the grammar, I'm like, no, that's like not the point. There is
I
a frequency behind it, It's not
yeah.
AI.
I love that when the moment you said the word publisher, I was like, no, 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 no. That's why from the beginning, I decided to self-publish because I want like literally authority over my work. I do not want to give someone else the rights to my art. And then also a quote that's coming up for me that I feel like I said in another podcast, but there's this amazing marketer. His name is Seth Godin. And
I
he
love him.
Seth Godin is amazing, because it's not about marketing, it's about telling stories and making an impact. That's his whole thing. And did you know he's ADHD? He like said that
Of
once
course.
on a thing. But he has this quote that is stop waiting to get picked. Pick yourself. And that's literally the whole thing with the publishing people is people write these books and they wait for to get published. They wait for, but it's like it's so easy to publish your art nowadays. It's not as easy to like get get it in front of eyeballs. I mean, that's my current, still thing is like how do I get my work in front of more people? But even that is part of like you can't rush art. You have to trust the timing of things too. The only thing that is in your control is you keep showing up and you keep creating art. And if
Yeah.
you create art that is true and deep and authentic to you, it's going to find, well, rather other people are going to find it, and you have to trust in that.
It's again, it goes back to energetics. I mean, how sometimes when I have those doubts with like, people and like, how promoting, marketing, all the fucking shit, where then, you go back to, oh, do I actually have to follow all of these rules? I don't want to though. And for
Yeah.
me as a projector, it doesn't work anyway. So why would I even do it? And then I'm just going back and like, okay, listen. If you really know and believe in what you preach with energy and everything, the law of attraction is real. And, if you just think of what needed to happen out of, for example, let's just take us, for example, for us to meet, within
Mhm.
5 trillion billion options that could have happened,
Yeah.
why did my eyeballs, fall on your profile
Mhm.
and whatever, like, even, sometimes when you meet someone outside for a few times and you're like, this is I could meet so many different people, but it happens to be you, you know?
Yes.
And there happens to be an energetic interaction, or that it's again higher forces that are at power. It's an energetic match thing. Like
Right.
and even sometimes with, the algorithm, everything, social media, it's partially obviously feeding against us, but then
Yeah.
I also see that, you are an energetic match. Your frequency is an energetic match to attract specific things into your field, be it on your phone, be it outside. It's your world at the end of the day is curated by being a reflection of your energetic inner state. That's why synchronicities happen, or why all of a sudden, I mean, there's even the part in the brain, the reticular activating system, right? Where you are focused on a specific thing and then you see it in your external world everywhere all of a sudden,
Yes. Yep. I love, yeah. I mean, there's so much going on inside of me that I'm like, I don't even know where to begin. But what's coming up for me is back to what you said about the comfort zone and how like inside your comfort zone you always be comfortable. That actually circles back to the whole mind thing. Is that whole idea of a comfort zone and why you need to stay safe in the comfort zone is only happening in the mind because my
Yeah,
soul is
because the
fucking
soul,
uncomfortable in
and
my
she's like
comfort
doing
zone.
so much to get you out, like to
Yes,
make
because
you
I
feel
want to go
really
out.
uncomfortable.
Exactly. And I think that's why I've often talked about on the podcast before that like writing is the most painful thing in existence for me. But like I have to do it because it's so uncomfortable. Like it's like this pressure of almost that mimics like even my experience of a soul in a body is like I constantly feel like I'm bursting at the seams because of the boundaries, because of the constraints. But at the same time, like we need boundaries to have any sense of autonomy and freedom
Yeah.
whatsoever. Otherwise, if we were also physically boundless, we would cease to exist.
Yeah. And I mean, even it's the same with the eating disorder. If you see it um, as the comfort zone, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's a mental comfort zone because the
Yeah.
mind has all of these ideas that, what terrifying thing would happen if that would be gone, or you would just
Mm-hmm.
trust your body. And the body is basically, let's just say, the higher force or the spirit, the soul,
Mm-hmm.
it's the universe, however you want to say it. It's the vessel of your soul, right? And so the vessel is like, it's not comfortable. I actually suffer inside. So let me see what all of the things that I can help the mind to recognize that, right?
Yep.
And obviously the mind is it's kind of like a tricky thing because it explains or like has all the reasons to not see the issue in the eating disorder, but in all the other things. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
it wants to, stick and like be like, no, 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 it can't be that. Can't be
Right.
that. It can't be as simple as, yeah, I think
See.
who was that? Seven Health just did a
Yes.
really good post on that, where it's like a lot of eating disorder symptoms are really just, you know, under like not enough nourishment, and you have more
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, mood
Mm-hmm.
swings, you don't feel comfortable in your body, you're over obsessed with like food and all of the things, and as soon as you are, eating more, all of that vanishes. But when you
Well,
are in that,
well, 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 it doesn't.
I
No, no,
mean,
no.
yeah, not everything, but it's true, like to some degree it's really true. Where do you then like, okay, the mind actually wanted me to not exactly do to not do exactly that. It's like the
Yeah.
eating disorder, and the comfort zone is the same thing, where it's like, no, 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 you will be out overwhelmed and terrified. Obviously, I mean, again, but that I think you said it before, with or without it, you
Mm-hmm.
will have emotions, you will have phases of anxiety, you will have
Exactly.
overwhelm. It's not like everything is gone and your life is safe, but you will be able to handle it better, you know?
That is it. You'll be able to handle it because, and that's why I talk a lot about that, creating a life worth suffering for, because, and I know I've said it precisely in this way, is like the eating disorder, you suffer to suffer, and that's it. But when you are healthy, you suffer to actually be yourself, which is like the art, which is the being, which is the whole fucking point of why you even exist on this planet. Because even as you were naming the anxiety, the mood swings, the feeling trapped, I'm like, well, that's the
It's
story of
still
my
here.
life,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, but it's also the trap with the eating disorder. Thought maybe that it would protect you from all of that, but it's not the thing. It's not
Yes,
actually. So the whole agenda behind it is it's an illusion and it's a trap in itself. And it's like,
right.
okay, now you have life and the eating disorder on top. Like, great. You have a double
Yes.
grade.
And the being able to handle it, that really is the key phrase because, for me personally, and again, just direct symptom of malnutrition, like if anything would happen that would slightly tip the scales, no pun intended, like I would go into full blown spiral panic attack.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot exist. I want to die. Like
Yeah, like suicidal
everything is
straight
the
away
end of the
because that's too
right.
much.
Because
Yeah.
my mom like missed one fucking almond, right? Whereas now, like, we've talked about this before, but like, there's so many things in this house that I'm like, why can you not like? But I'm able to then regulate myself through it without needing to be like, okay, well, now I'm just not going to eat because that's my coping mechanism, which again makes no fucking sense because it's like, oh, well, now I'm not going to sleep. Now I'm not going to go to the toilet. Now I'm not going to drink any water. Now I'm not going to tend to the human needs just because one thing
I'm
upset
just
me.
not gonna pee now.
Yeah.
See how
Well,
well that serves you.
it again, yeah. So that's even for me on like a personal level, like as someone with so many aspirations and things I want to do, I think one of the biggest frustrations for me is the fact that this human body has so many needs. It constantly needs tending to.
Like a little dog or toddler. It's
Yes.
like the Sims character. It's like, oh gosh, I was just about to build and now you need to fucking
Right.
interrupt, you
Right.
know?
And a reframe for me that's kind of been working is like it annoyed me so often when my parents during the eating disorder said food is medicine. I'm like, fuck off with your food is medicine. But now I see everything. I see going to the toilet, showering, sleeping. I say it's all medicine for my artist. That has been so helpful for me.
Yeah, but also, again, I mean, I said it to you in your reading. I think at the end of the day, you're not here for creating something for the world. That makes
No, no,
sense.
but I mean, when I say artist, I mean like essence, being. Like
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are
being.
naturally
Yeah.
artists.
I
That's
mean, but yeah, so you can explore the world and experience it in its highest capacity for the higher power that wants to see the world through your eyes. You just need to also make sure that your energy levels and everything is just charged, like
yeah,
if you want to use your phone to see what's out there in the world, you charge it too, and you're not like, I
right,
mean, yeah, I get annoyed when I have to charge my phone, but still, we have to charge. And
right.
also like I see it now more so as, having time to reflect and integrate too,
Yes.
just use your 2 seconds of going to the toilet, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
When you're in the shower, it's like it's moments of pauses where also
Mm-hmm.
we spoke about that, where the epiphanies happen, where
Yep.
sometimes even things happen, and even it could happen when you eat your food and then all of a sudden it clicks for you. You need the distance from your creativity in
Yes.
order to have that, yeah, distance or contrast, like even you know to get out of the zone so
Mm-hmm.
you can be better in the zone, if that makes sense.
It absolutely, and I thank you for saying that about the creation thing because I feel like even an even better way of saying it is like the honoring the needs of the body is medicine for existence. That's
Yeah,
what it is. It's
yeah.
medicating your existence.
And
Yeah.
it's part of existence too. Like, why do you or do we mislabel it as non-existence, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's everything is an experience at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we have to make everything a creative experience if we want to live as an artist, you know, our
Mm-hmm.
entire day. Or, you know, in spiritual terms, I say like I want to make everything a ritual, like
Mm-hmm.
everything celebration, so to speak, of wow, I get, and that's again a reframe, right? You can see the world as I need to wake up again, doing another day in this human illusion, play game, pretend, because Source wants to, you know, forget who it is, so and limit itself into this limited body, limited experience, even though I know it's not limited, but I have to pretend, right?
Yeah.
And I can
Right.
see it as something that is horrible, or I can be like, okay, and I am the chosen one, I guess
Yeah.
today to experience a unique fractal of this planet in whatever unique way. Let's see what Source wants to see through me that I have to uncover, you know? And then it's like, so I always have this song in my head when I mean, you say that, but there's this one song, Discovery Channel, like you and me, baby, day looking and that. Anyways, whenever I say discovery, but then it's like a child. You open your eyes in the morning, like, let's discover what was
Yeah.
concealed, so I can be the one at the end of the day when I have my ear on my pillow again. I'm like going back to source and be like, okay, today we discovered this, and this, and then I realized this, and then I saw this, and then this annoyed me, and this, and this, and this. And it's like you're just narrating back to the source, you know?
I love that. Yeah, because even that about the head hitting the pillow, I mean, a few months ago, and I'm sure that was related to my horrible living situation, which I'm now out of. But I would dread going to bed because I was so afraid of being confronted with the trap of human consciousness. Was now I I spend so much more time just alone in silence, no audiobooks, no podcasts, no stimulation, and there's so much connection to myself happening. And I think that is why, again, this whole transformation I've been going through, it feels so intuitive in a way, because like I feel like I am becoming who I am, and I've said that in a previous
Having a
podcast
Neptune
episode.
transit, everyone.
well
I know it.
well, I don't know what the heck that means. So I think in future episodes, I personally would love to dive deep. Why can I not talk deeper into, many of these let's just call them special terms that you use, because for a foreigner like me, it doesn't mean anything.
You
Um,
know, I mean, astrology, and that's, I think, why you would love, I mean, you already are in tune with it, but for me, the way I always said or explained astrology and the reason for me doing it, it's because it's the language of the soul.
yes.
So and not a lot of people can speak it, right? But I feel like we all should learn it to understand, okay, that's how we are all collectively being moved. Not how the media is, you know, using words to explain the next evolution of what's going on the planet and the agenda and here and these. No, that's not what's happening. But I have to say, kings and queens, everyone always, like people in higher power, used astrology for a reason because it's literally how the energy in the cosmos is moving us all collectively. We think we are so powerful as this little human, whatever. But then I'm like, okay, let's be real. Everything that we do, every impulse, every electric thing that happens in your body, it's not manipulated or controlled by you.
Yep.
So
Yep.
why do we think that, you know, when we are born, all the control is on us and all of no, it's not happening, right?
Yeah.
So obviously there have always been higher forces or, you know, bigger forces at play. And to know what's going on in the cosmos helps us to understand why we are going through things. Like in your case, as I mentioned, you have a Neptune transit, which speaks to all of the, first of all, existential crisis to a certain degree, because it's like everything just feels confusing and like an illusion. And you're like, what have I been doing my entire life? Like it's just like, but then it's also very much a cosmic opening to there's so much more out there to me, to everything. And why am I so limited? And then also going into like more of a spiritual way, more artist way, like more creative, more be in your own bubble and in your own zone.
And
And
feeling
yeah,
so at peace there. Yeah.
yeah, also that. I mean, it can be, disillusionment and people go into drugs and are just like, fuck, I'm losing it. I don't know what's real and what's not anymore. Or people are in their bubble and like, oh my gosh, I've missed out on all of this, you know?
Yeah, because I definitely don't feel like I'm retreating into the bubble like it's a drug or disillusion. I totally feel like I have not been able to feel this peaceful for
Yeah.
ever. Like I don't ever remember feeling like this. And it's like all the fight or flight mode and the crisis it all had to happen almost for the contrast to be like, oh my gosh, it's so quiet and nice. And yeah, so I am excited to be the student on the podcast and learn all more about the astrology, because language of the soul, that is my language, as you know, and the language of, I think, everyone who's listening to this. um so Kathi, how shall we wrap this up?
Well, what can I say? I mean, I don't know when it's gonna be released, but it's very timely for us to do that because we are right now have a full moon in Gemini and it's squaring the node. So I think everyone who will be an energetic match to listening to this knows that they are probably going through a major crossroads in their lives. And everyone, I think we talked about it. And I think the theme for this entire episode was this: ask yourself, if you keep yourself stuck in a comfort zone you've outgrown for so long. And it doesn't even have to just be the eating disorder. It can be any habit, it can be a life situation, a relationship, anything. It's like literally the theme of the cosmos right now is asking that question. It's like, where are you limiting your potential? Where are you being asked to step up because there's more to your being? There's more to you, but you're terrified to explore it, to discover it. To what came to my mind earlier when you said about, your existential crisis, this just unleashing. What would happen if you just let the leash, just throw it out of the
Take
window?
off the leash, yeah.
Just even if it's just for a day, like just throw it off, and see
Yeah.
what would happen. I mean, if you die, you just put it on again. Oh, whatever.
Yeah,
Like, who knows?
yeah,
Or maybe you will land in a different fucking sphere. Who knows? But you will never know if you never try. And
yep.
that's like the theme of right now, also because we have a 9 year. So it's like wrapping all the things up and closing those chapters that are it's not even that they are not serving us, it's expired,
It's
Like, it's
expired.
expired.
Yep.
It's boring, it's predictable. Do you really want that moving into the next year and everything that's going to unfold and collectively? It's all about just allowing ourselves to be new.
Yep. Yep. Get rid of anything that's expired. I think that's a perfect note to end on, because this episode has now expired too. No, I'm just kidding. Like the conversation. Yeah, trying to find the words that are not the right words. Kathi,
We
it
need
is,
to let people into their silence bubble and not bombard them with all of the
yes,
insight. Yeah.
true. Yeah, and we'll be back soon enough. So thank you, Kathi, for your insights and your wisdom, and for this conversation that was totally unpredictable for both of us. And look what it turned into. I'm really excited to continue our own discovery. And thanks everyone for listening. And we will be back soon. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, my friend. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you could leave a positive rating and review for the Live Label Free podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's a free way to show your support so I can continue bringing you the valuable content that I love to create for you.